Friends, today we are going to tell you how an Arab sheikh kept an innocent and helpless woman with him and used her. But when the woman's husband found out the truth, what the Arab sheikh did to the woman and to her husband, when you hear it, you will be truly shocked. So, watch the video till the end. If you like the video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Now, let's begin. I received news that an AC had broken down in an elite neighborhood. The address was sent to my mobile phone via text message. I arrived at the given location to fix the AC. I worked for a company in Saudi Arabia, and wherever my boss sent me for work, I would go without question. If someone gave us a small tip for the servicing, we would gladly accept it. As I rang the doorbell, a child came out. From his face, it seemed like he was Bangladeshi. He asked me, "Yes, tell me." "What do you need?" I replied, "I've come to fix your AC." I asked him to call his parents. After a while, the man who had complained about the broken AC came out. I was quite surprised to see the man because he was an Arab, but then again, it's not unusual for a Bangladeshi woman to marry an Arab man. The child also spoke clear Bangla, and he didn't look Arab at all. I took my tools and entered their house. He took me to the drawing room, the room where the AC was installed. I began fixing the AC. I worked on it for about an hour. When I was about to leave, the man said, "Won't you have a cup of tea?" He seemed like a very kind and gentle man. After all, who else would offer tea to someone like me? I pulled out my handkerchief from my pocket and began wiping my sweat. At that moment, his wife walked in with a cup of tea. I was shocked. She was none other than Miriam. My wife, Miriam. How is this even possible? My head began to spin. How could Miriam be alive? I forgot everything and rushed toward her. Looking at her with disbelief, I asked, "Miriam, how are you here?" Just then, the man came and stood behind me and said, "What kind of rudeness is this? Step away from my wife." But I was certain she was Miriam. How could Miriam be someone else's wife? But that man was calling her by the name Jarina. He said, "Jarina, go inside." I told him, "She is my wife. How can you marry someone else's wife?" As soon as he heard those words from my mouth, the man grabbed me by the collar and angrily said, "Don't you dare speak nonsense about my wife. She is my wife, and only mine." Miriam, looking anxious, left the room. I angrily told the Saudi man, "You have kidnapped my wife. I will not spare you." He pushed me out of his house. My head was hurting and I was feeling dizzy. She was my wife, my Miriam. There was no way I could be mistaken. How could she marry another man while still being my wife? It just wasn't possible. Thinking all this, I somehow made it to the road. Even though I am a man, I couldn't help but cry that day. 8 years ago, Miriam had come into my life as my wife. How could I ever forget that? That night was the most beautiful night of my life. Miriam was one of the most beautiful women I had ever seen. I am an AC motor mechanic. I come from a very poor family. Miriam was also the daughter of a poor family. When my marriage with Miriam was arranged, I hadn't even seen her. All I knew was that the girl's family was so poor that they wouldn't be able to give anything extra at the time of the wedding, except for the bridal dress. My parents were not happy with this marriage because they never wanted me to marry without a dowry. But the girl was so beautiful that I couldn't refuse her. My parents eventually agreed, thinking, whatever else happens, at least the girl is beautiful. On our wedding night, when I lifted Miriam's veil and saw her, I nearly lost consciousness. For a few moments I even forgot to blink. I couldn't believe my own luck. Like everyone else, my love for my wife began to grow day by day, but maybe my mother didn't like that. When I came home from work, I just wanted to spend the rest of the time with my wife, but my mother would keep me in her room until very late at night. She would say, "Since getting married, you've forgotten us old folks." I tried to make her understand that it wasn't like that. My father was always sick, so at night I would massage his feet before going to bed. But I don't know why my mother would keep me caught up in her words all night. By the time I got to my room, Miriam would already be asleep in anger. In the morning, I had to leave early for work. The company I worked for began to like my work a lot. One day, the owner of the company said to me, "Listen, my elder brother does the same work in Saudi Arabia. If you go and work in his company, your earnings will double." I agreed. When I gave this news to my parents, they were very happy. But Miriam became very sad. She said, "Take me with you." I said, "Let me go there first and settle my job. Then I'll bring you too." Then she said, "You're just making excuses. Once you go there, you'll forget me. And here, your mother will turn my life into hell. She doesn't let me stay in peace for even a moment. She make me work all day long. When you're home, at least my nights go peacefully. Otherwise, if possible, she would make me work the whole night too." Somewhere Miriam was right. My mother had a very harsh nature. She never liked it when I was happy with my wife or spent quality time with her. Her thinking was like the old times. She believed that daughters-in-law were servants of the house, and sons should be tied to the edge of the mother's sari so that the wife doesn't overpower him. I knew all of it, and I wanted to go to Saudi Arabia, save up some money, and bring Miriam to live with me. Crying, I held Miriam close to my chest and said, "I can't explain how much pain I'll feel going far away from you. How will I live there without you? I know Amma has an old-fashioned mindset, but for my sake, just wait a little. I will bring you there very soon." But there was no peace in my own heart either. Before leaving, I gave Miriam some money for her daily expenses, because I knew that the money I would send home from Saudi Arabia, my mother would never give to Miriam. Miriam, with tearful eyes, bid me farewell, because as much as I loved Miriam, she loved me even more. And today I'm standing on the roadside, crying my heart out and thinking, how could Miriam betray me like this? She used to love me so much. All these years I thought my wife had died. I had seen her body burn with my own eyes. And then I remembered something from the past, a time when I had only been working in Saudi for 1 month. One day Miriam called me while crying and said, "Your mother has turned my life into hell. Now she doesn't even let me eat a full meal. She doesn't let me go and stay at my father's house either. She makes me massage her feet until midnight. Please take me away from here quickly, or I'll take poison and die." Hearing these words from Miriam's mouth, I was shocked. I said, "Don't even think of doing something like that. For God's sake, please don't do anything like that. Try to understand my situation, Miriam. It's only been a month since I came here. If I now go to my employer and request to bring my family members here, he will fire me from the job. And you know very well how much debt I took just to come here. Don't worry. I'll call my mother and ask her to let you go to your father's house for a few days. I'll send you some money there. You can buy yourself some new clothes." Hearing me say that, she became silent. She'd called me secretly. Otherwise, my mother wouldn't even let me talk to Miriam. The phone was always in my mother's room. When I used to call my mother, I would say, "Mom, please let me talk to Miriam." Then my mother would say, "How shameless. You're calling your mother to talk to your wife? There's no need to talk to your wife every day. If you keep talking to her all the time, how will you focus on your work?" And with that, Amma would hang up the phone. One night I called my mother and said, "Please let Miriam go to her father's house for a few days." Then my mother said, "Why? Is it so difficult for your wife to stay in her in-laws' house?" I said, "It's not that, Mom. It's just that it's been a long time since she's been to her father's place. Let her go for a few days and relax." Anyway, somehow or another I convinced my mother. Then I also sent Miriam some money to her father's address. While she was staying at her father's house, we were able to talk properly. Miriam told me, "Junaid, your mother has started raising her hand on me. Junaid, nowadays my health doesn't stay good either. I felt deeply hurt by the way my parents were treating my wife, but my situation in Saudi Arabia wasn't good enough at that time for me to bring Mariam over. One day I was sitting deep in thought, thinking about all this. I was looking at a photo of Mariam that I had kept in my wallet. Suddenly my employer came by and saw me. He asked, "What's wrong, Junaid?" "Are you feeling down for some reason?" I said, "Things at home aren't going well." Then my employer said, "Then why don't you bring someone over here from your family?" I said, "But sir, right now I don't have that kind of ability. And I still have a lot of debt back in my country. I'm a man. I can sleep anywhere, endure any hardship. But if I bring my wife here, I'll need to rent a separate home, provide a proper environment. But right now, I don't have the financial means to arrange all that, sir." Sir said to me, "Take some money from me as a loan. You can repay it slowly from your salary. I found a nice place, small but beautiful, and it has all the necessities and the rent is low. You and your wife will be able to live there very happily." Hearing that from my employer made me happy. It was like a huge problem in my life had suddenly been solved. When I told my mother that I wanted to bring Mariam to me, she said, "There's no need for that. She'll stay here with us." I said, "I can't live here without my wife. That's why I want to bring Mariam here to me." Hearing my straightforward words, my mother got angry. But right then my father took the phone from her. He said that he himself would drop Mariam off at the airport. Abu told me not to worry about anything. My heart felt at peace. When I told my employer that I wanted to bring my wife to Saudi, he arranged the visa and the ticket. I sent Mariam the details of the ticket. Mariam's flight was coming to Saudi from Dubai. When I reached the airport a bit late, by that time the flight had already landed. I was feeling very happy in my heart. The home was already arranged. I was eagerly waiting for Mariam's arrival. But my restlessness started increasing when I saw that all the passengers were coming out one by one, but Mariam didn't come out. I was feeling extremely anxious. I informed the staff there that my wife still hadn't come out. They told me that all the passengers from that flight had already come out. I became very worried. Where did my Mariam go? I told my employer everything. My employer said, "I'm reaching the airport right now." My employer came to the airport. He said, "I know someone here. Through him I will find out about your wife." After some time my employer came back. He said, "Junaid, your wife was on the flight until Dubai airport. After that she didn't board the next flight. She got down in Dubai." Hearing this, I almost fainted. How could Mariam make such a big mistake? I had explained everything to her clearly over the phone. I had made her understand very well not to get off anywhere else. Only when all the other passengers get off, then she should too, because the final destination of that flight was Saudi. How could Mariam make such a big mistake? It felt like my heart was going to burst out of my body. Right there, I sat down on my knees and started crying. In an unknown, unfamiliar city. Who knows where my Mariam had gone? How would I find her now? My employer was a very kind man. He took me with him to Dubai. After going there, he found out all the information. There, we came to know that a passenger named Mariam had gotten down at Dubai airport. The taxi she had taken, the taxi had met with an accident. I was taken to a hospital. I had cried so much that I was in terrible condition. I kept thinking the same thing again and again. Why did Mariam get down in Dubai? I had told her again and again to get off in Saudi. The girl I saw lying on the hospital bed, her face was badly burned. Her hands and legs were burned too. From the vanity bag found in the taxi, I broke down in tears even more. That bag was a memory of mine. I used to cry all the time thinking about my wife. At that time, my company's employer was by my side. He said, "Maybe this is what was written in fate. Don't be upset anymore. Here, your wife was an unknown, unfamiliar person. That's why, not knowing, She got down in Dubai, and then she met with an accident. This was in no way a small pain for me. How happy Miriam was when I told her I'd bring her to Saudi. My employer didn't even deduct the amount from my salary that was spent to bring Miriam abroad. He even increased my salary. He was truly a kind-hearted man. When I told all of this to my parents back in Bangladesh, my mother started scolding me instead. My mother said, "You had such a strong desire to bring your wife to yourself. Now see what the result is." It took me many years to recover, but I'd kept myself busy with work. 8 years later, today, I saw Miriam again. But as someone else's wife, how could Miriam do this to me? Even after being my wife, how could she marry another man? In all these thoughts, my employer proved to be my one true friend. I went straight to my employer's house. When I told my employer everything, he was shocked. He said, "Maybe you're making some mistake. How could that woman be your wife? Your wife had passed away." It felt like he was just saying those words with his mouth. But somewhere inside, even he had some doubt. I said, "This cannot be. She is my wife. She is my Mariam. I can never make a mistake in recognizing my wife." It was extremely painful for me that my wife was living her life as someone else's wife. My employer said, "Maybe she's someone else. You were the one who identified your deceased wife." I then said the girl I had seen, her entire face was burned in the fire. I don't know who that girl was, but I do know that my wife Miriam is living in that man's house. Just tell me this. Will you help me or not? Hearing my words, Sir seemed a bit hesitant. He said, "But how will we do this? That person is not even an expat. He's a local. If we try something, we might end up in trouble." He was very nervous. Hearing my employer's words, I was disheartened. But how could I tolerate my own wife with another man? It felt like my sleep had become forbidden. The next morning I went to that house again. That man opened the door. Seeing me, he got angry. I said, "Look, brother, please listen to me once. With attention. I am not lying to you. Your wife was once my wife. She is Miriam, my wife. We are not yet divorced, so she is still my legal wife. And according to Islamic Sharia, no woman can marry another man while being in a valid marital bond. This, according to our Sharia, is unlawful, even if she later married you. Until I divorce her, your marriage is not valid in any way. If you don't believe my words, you can ask any scholar or religious authority." He said, "Keep your speech to yourself, and never let me see you anywhere near my house again." I returned from there, heartbroken. Now I had only one option left, and that was to talk directly to Miriam. I believed she still loved me. Maybe she was lost somewhere. And even though she was my wife, why did she marry someone else? She knew everything. Then why did she do this knowingly? I started keeping watch near that man's house for a few days, to find out when he leaves the house and when he returns. One day I was shocked. I saw my employer coming out of that person's house. He was standing at the gate talking to that man, the way my employer was talking to that Saudi man. It looked like they had years of friendship. My mind became restless again. My employer knows that man. What's happening in my life? I couldn't understand anything. I wanted to meet Miriam at any cost, because I realized only Miriam could answer all the questions. I just wanted to know the truth. I waited until deep into the night, hiding. I waited all night, but that man didn't leave the house. When it became late at night, somehow I climbed the building wall and entered that Saudi man's house through the balcony. I saw that a light was on in one of the rooms. I stood beside that room. I slowly opened the window lock. The window opened. I saw Mariam and that little girl were sitting curled up in one corner, and that man was saying, "I have paid a lot of money for you both. That's why you'll never be free from me. Whether our relationship is lawful or unlawful, I don't care, but you can never leave this place." Maryam pleaded, "You have kept me in an unlawful relationship. For the sake of Allah, let me go from here. Every moment I can't keep committing this sin anymore. My husband is a very good-natured man. I am his wife. I am his trust. I am his honor, which you have been misusing for so many years. I have tolerated a lot. I can't take it anymore. For the sake of Allah, please let me go from here." My wife Maryam was crying as she pleaded for help from that man. But that man, ignoring everything Maryam said, laughed and walked out of the room. I found the perfect moment to talk to Maryam alone. I quickly opened the window and entered the room. As soon as Maryam saw me, she rushed toward me. She hugged me tightly and crying said, "Junaid, please take me away from here. They have trapped me in an illegal relationship." I asked, "How did you get caught up in all this trouble?" Maryam said, "I don't know, but I never boarded the Dubai flight. My flight had a stop in Saudi and I got off there. But the flight time was different. I knew you would come to receive me, so I came out of the airport. I saw a man around 50 years old who signaled and called me. He told me, 'Junaid has sent me to pick you up.' I thought maybe you had sent him because he mentioned your name. As soon as I got into the car with that man, I lost consciousness due to some fragrance inside. When I regained consciousness, that same man was sitting beside me. I found myself in a dark, locked room. I sat up and asked, where is Junaid?" That man started laughing loudly and said, "He doesn't even know you're in Saudi. I didn't bring you for Junaid. I brought you for myself. I've seen your picture with Junaid. The moment I saw your beauty, I was mesmerized. So I planned everything. Your husband thinks you're dead. So from now on, you'll be my slave." At first, that man treated me with respect. And then, he sold me to that Saudi man. That man forcefully kept me with him. I asked Maryam, "Then whose child is this?" Maryam started crying again. She said, This is your child. I found out I was pregnant even before coming to Saudi. I thought I'd come to Saudi and give you the good news. But after coming here, I got caught up in this terrible trap myself. That day I left the place, and the next day I went to that Saudi man's house with the police. The police took my wife's statement. Then they arrested my factory owner and that Saudi man. I had gotten my wife back, but I had never imagined that the employer I considered so close would betray me like this. I thought, if I hadn't come abroad chasing money, if I had stayed back in my country, maybe my wife wouldn't have had to suffer for so many years. Maybe she wouldn't have faced so much pain. May Allah protect all our mothers, sisters, wives, and daughters, and may every girl have something good written in her destiny. Ameen. Friends, how did you like today's story? Be sure to share your valuable thoughts in the comment box. If you liked the video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And for more such educational and mysterious stories, make sure to subscribe to our channel. That's all from us for today. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.